Hello humans and others, today we will be trying on the Unearthly Not Normal Remastered Eyeshadow Palette, and I will be live swatching these as well as putting on the eyes so you can make your decision about whether or not it's something you consider purchasing. In the second part of the video, I will discuss certain practices followed by smaller makeup brands that may be detrimental to them in the long run, and how they will hinder growth for that brand, and consequently the brand might remain a small brand for the duration of their operations, which is not the best thing. But as a makeup artist as well as a chartered accountant, I think I have a unique perspective where both worlds collide, and I would like to share some of that with you so you can make sure which brands you want to support and which brands you don't, and what might be the future prospects of your favorite indie brands, and whether or not you would like to see certain changes in how they operate. All of that I will discuss in the second half of the video, so let's get right in. So the palette comes in this cardboard box, and it has the same print as the inner carton and the palette itself. So it's quite a bit of packaging, and this palette is $62. So if you're an Unearthly Cosmetics customer, feel free to let me know what you do with these. Do you keep them? Do you throw them away? Is all of this kind of wasted? What value does it add for the customer? I'm just curious to know, because can we not just use simple bubble wrap to protect this? And would that help bring down the cost of these palettes a little bit? Because for some of these indie brands, we are getting up there with Natasha Denona prices or higher. So the actual palette that the customer will be keeping, the packaging is kind of on par with other indie brands. It's just an image at the front, and then this is what the palette looks like. Now normally I would not go for something like this. They had the original one and I was not interested in that whatsoever. But the first difference is this is bigger from the original palette. It has certainly a few more shades. But what sold me on this was the Unearthly Cosmetics owner's Instagram live, and she live swatched some of these shimmers and they were absolutely gorgeous, and I wanted the palette just for the shimmers. So today I'm going to check out whether they are as good as they appeared in the live, and we shall see about that. For the first look, let's start here. This shade for the crease. Let's put this slightly above the crease. I want this color to be diffused on the upper part of the crease. This is a nice yellowy green, a light yellowy green if you will. Next, let's do this for the crease. I'm going to take a smaller pointy brush to deepen up the crease with this shade. I'm going to blend it out with the light green just a bit. This one is like a mustardy brown shade with like a hint of green in there. Let's pack on this bright green on the lid. That's a bright green I really like. So far I really like these three colors. Kind of remind me of an Odin's Eye palette, which I think I will compare in a bit. Pigmented, easy to put on, no issues. Let's use this for the outer half. Again, going to pack it on over here. Let's see what the difference is in tones. So this is like a muted green with bits of gray in there. They're kind of blending in together with each other, but they are quite different, and I like that. It does not make for a good value if multiple shades are quite similar. This one is more cool toned than this one, so they're not too similar but will go together well. Let's put this one in the inner corner. For wide set eyes, it's nice to use an inner corner shade that is not matte white or pastel, but more of a colorful shade. It gives the illusion of eyes that are not as wide set. That is a lovely shade. Let's bring it a little bit under the eye as well. Let's use this shade for the lower lash line. This is like a very dark, cool toned brown. So like a gray brown, if you will. I think this will be nice to use under the lash line for that definition. Let's blend that out just a hint. I think we have our mattes nicely laid down, so let's try some shimmers. This one really caught my eye. Let's try this one on. I believe this is a multi-chrome, so let's swatch it out and see what the shifts are. This is one of the shades that was shown in the Instagram live, and I was really impressed by it. This seems to be a gold with like a hint of green in there. I don't see a very prominent shift, but it's still special enough. I wouldn't say it's an average shimmer. It's very greeny gold. And Unearthly's shimmers are excellent, no doubt. That is nice. Let's try this one. This is a light green with a blue shift. Light tealy kind of blue. It's not super shifty, but again, it's a special shimmer for sure. Let's try this one. So this is a deep, cool green, like a blue green, with blue sparkles running through it and a slight purpley shift. It is gorgeous, and off the top of my head, I don't remember seeing something like this in my collection for a little while. So I think this is kind of a different shade. I haven't seen a lot of these in my collection at least. The sparkle, glittery particles are much more pronounced in this one as compared to the other two. This is how the first look is looking. Honestly, when I looked at this palette, I thought the looks were going to be a lot more muted than they actually are, so that's pretty cool. So I decided to pop on an Earthly Cosmetics lipstick, and I think these would go so well. That is another thing that Unearthly Cosmetics does really well, and it is their satin lipsticks. This one is called Mandy. I'm not sure if it's available still, but this is from the Alien Cosmetics days, and it is getting a little bit thicker, but I still love the color. Okay, look number 2. So the way I see this palette is it has some mauvey tones, purples, and neutrals, plus it has some yellows and greens. So I did the yellow and green look here, so I'm thinking for this one we do purple, mauves, and some neutrals. So let's see. Let's start with the same basic structure as before. Let's put this one on the crease. Ooh, that is a gorgeous and very pigmented color. It's like a rosy mauve shade. Beautiful. The application was pretty quick, as you can see. Let's do this purple in the crease. This to deepen up things a little bit. I want the purple to actually show up in the finished look, so I'm not going to put it on the lid because that will be covered by some really nice shimmers that we have. Let's blend it out with the previous one. That's a nice poppy crease. Let's put this on the lid. So let's put this in the inner 1/3 and the outer 1/3. What I want to do is have some depth in this whole look, so let's build that color. This is very much a plum color, cool toned, dusty plum. Not very deep actually, but kind of a mid-tone dusty plum. Let's use this cream shade in the center. This cream shade is one of your average highlighting shades, just a nice inner corner or highlighting shade for your lid. It's nothing really special, and now I'm wondering if I should make the color just a bit deeper, so let's try this shade. This is your average light brown neutral shade. I think I just don't want my skin to be showing through the shimmer. I want the center of the lid to be highlighted but not white. Let's just mix those kind of together. Okay, that's better. Now let's start with the shimmers. We have 4 gorgeous shimmers left, and I'm wondering which ones to use. 3 of them are very purple based, so let's do those on the lid. Let's use this one for the inner 1/3. This is a gorgeous lavender kind of base with a lot of silver sparkle in there. There you can see, very pigmented, very impactful. And the base is a little bit more purple when you swatch it, so that's pretty cool. Oh dear. Wow, that is quite something. Just a couple of taps and that's the intensity. If I use this all over the lid, I'd be very happy with the result. This is a bit of a stainer though. This shade. Let's try this on the center of the lid. Now the shade is called taupe, but I see a muted purple to a muted green. Let's swatch it out. And also some taupe. So let's swatch it out. It is a purple to a green multichrome. The shift is subtle, but this is a very muted version of that multichrome. So it fits right in with the theme. I can see that muted purple with the green shift and some pink sparkle in there, but it's also very taupey from certain angles. So you can definitely use this one with the neutrals in the palette. But with a green or purple, it will mimic that color as well. Like right now, you see it blend really well with the previous purple that we put on there. In fact, they don't look different enough on the lid. But I'm pretty sure if you do a neutral look, this will be the way to go, because the other shimmers are quite colorful, but this palette is meant to have enough shades to do a neutral look. Let's use this one. This one is a purple in the pan with lots of pink sparkle, and it shifts to a bluey green. This is a brighter shade with a dark base. Definitely a multichrome. So it goes from deep purple to a blue green. Like a witchy mermaid. I love this kind of a shade because it has a dark base in this one, whereas the ones I have previously loved have been more of a mid-tone base or a lighter base. Those mermaid kind of multichromes are one of my favorite kind of shades. Very nice. We are left with but one shade. This one right here. You see a little bit of a blue, but it is a hard to describe shade. Plus it has a lot of sparkle. It is like a silvery blue from straight on, and it turns slightly purple. Very nice. Let's swatch it out and see. So it's like a muted light blue to a purple. I think it has that plummy base, if you can see it. Do you see the shifts? I'm going to put that plum shade under the lash line. Let's put that last shade in the inner corner.
Shadows fall, I hear your name. Cold winds call, we're both to blame. Lips of ice, a deadly kiss, fate entwined in this abyss. In the dark we burn as one, a love that's lost but never gone. Haunted hearts forever marked, chained by whispers in the dark. Blood red moon, it lights the way.
So this is how both the eyes turn out. I think this is pretty good. It's a pretty cohesive palette. It has options for the neutral lover as well as the color lover like myself, with the purples and the greens. You can see how bright these tones turned out. It's kind of supposed to be a muted palette, but to someone like me, it's not. It's reasonably colorful, reasonably bright, and also something you can do everyday neutral looks with. So I think this is a good purchase. So it has been a while since I've been wearing this makeup look, and I want to give some final thoughts about the palette. I think this is a really nice color story. I actually like the shades in this. I also like the special shades, but I think there's only 2 or 3 actual multi-chromes which are not that shifty. So in my opinion, this is a nice palette, but I would not pay the full price for this. If you're not looking to purchase this, but you are interested in some similar tones, might I suggest you to look to this palette if you have this in your collection. This is the Stone and Rock palette from Odin's Eye. It has quite a few of those muted green shades, which are quite similar to the ones in the Unearthly palette. What's missing from this though is the purples and the mauves. But some neutral tones are there. There's some excellent shimmers. There is the gold, there is the greeny ones. I would recommend this. Odin's Eye palettes are more affordable and they have really good quality as well. In terms of the customer service experience that I had with Unearthly Cosmetics while purchasing this, I was actually one of, I think, the first people to purchase this because I placed an order as soon as it came out because, like I mentioned, I saw the swatches of the shimmers in a live and I really wanted it. As soon as the pre-order opened up, I placed my order and it was supposed to ship the week of Halloween, which it said on the website. So the week of Halloween came and went. There was nothing, no shipping email. So I emailed customer service and I received no response at that point. And after a few days, I got a response saying that it's pending fulfillment. So 2 weeks pass and there is nothing. I emailed them again and still no response for days on end, even more than the 72-hour frame that they claim they have to help out with customer inquiries. And I finally get a response with all the flowery language and it says, "We have noted this for our records." I think it was the fact that whomever was doing their customer service knew that they weren't doing their job, and maybe there should be more of an oversight on that. When I didn't get an email response, I also commented on their Instagram post because I wanted to know how long it would be before it shipped out, and that really bothered me. And I remembered why I hadn't bought from Unearthly Cosmetics in a long time, and this is exactly why. I was watching another live stream of theirs on Instagram and I saw another person commenting with their customer concerns and saying that no one from their customer service had responded for quite a while, and the owner explained that the customer service person is someone working a part-time job or something. And well, long story short, the customer service is not up to par for what it should be. Also, I was looking for a palette that they came out with quite a while ago that I missed out on. I thought maybe someone was selling it somewhere, but I actually came across a thread on Reddit, and there are a lot of people talking about this brand and saying especially about the All I Ever Wanted palette, the All Shimmer palette that came out quite recently. They were talking about the price being too high for what it is, and quite a lot of other things. It's quite a long thread and a lot of backlash about raising their prices. These indie brands are off their rockers, 86 American dollars for 12 shades. And then someone is mentioning Unearthly's live streams where the owner said she wanted to switch to smaller pens because it was highly requested, wanted to reformulate, get the prices lower, and that didn't happen. The prices only increased from there. Then they were also mentioning the relationships with influencers and how the influencers will be singing their praises because they will be getting in PR and in a parasocial relationship with the brand owner. So, which I kind of agree with. I see very little paying customers making any reviews about this brand, but it's mostly the people who have the codes, who are affiliates, who are the salespeople for this brand. This is good because I thought I was the only one with this issue, but apparently I'm not. People are speaking out because I never see any comments like this on their Instagram or anywhere, because maybe that's not obviously appreciated. But then again, as a business, you have to think differently from how you would act or think as an individual. I like Unearthly Cosmetics as a whole, but sometimes the management of their business doesn't entirely make sense to me, or I don't agree with. And it's the same for few other indie brands, because I have seen things happen with other indie brands too. And this will be our segue into the discussion about how some small brands will always remain small because of their certain business practices and the way they conduct themselves, which is unfortunate because some of them produce really good products. You may have seen that your favorite popular indie brand, after years of you following them or buying from them, they're still a small brand. They're still struggling with sales. They're still struggling with inventory. Everything's out of stock. They're still doing pre-orders. They still are a small brand. They're still maybe where they started or just slightly better off. But certain other brands such as Glamlight, they've broken all records. Their sales have skyrocketed. They're shipping out thousands of orders. They have large warehouses with inventory. It's not really much of a comparison there, because one does wonder, what does it take? Because certain indie brands, including Unearthly Cosmetics, they have solid products, they have nice theming as well, but they are unable to break through and get to the same heights that Glamlight has achieved. So what's different? I think the first thing that I have observed and comes to mind is that most of these indie brand owners are creators, not business people. And there is a significant difference between those two. And if you don't have business expertise, some people do possess it naturally, but others have to study and build towards it. And without that business background, it's really hard for them to manage the business side of it. But they're good at producing products and doing the artwork and creating things that really appeal to the customers, but they don't know how to handle the business side. For example, the administrative or legal processes involved with a business. They can hire a lawyer for that, but also inventory management, social media management, or how to make sales, or how to engage customers, or how to incorporate feedback so you can produce something even more tailored to the customer, or how to add value to the products you're making and what's wastage versus what's not. Also, the customer is constantly bitching. This is not right, your theming isn't right, the color story is not okay, the packaging we don't like, the pan size we don't like, the prices we don't like, the formula, or make this have less multi-chromes in a palette, have more. And you're constantly putting out fires as a brand owner and not actually creating or focusing on the product and the theming that goes with it, or something that makes you really happy. Whereas a business person's expertise would really be about the business and less about the products. And I think there needs to be a middle ground for this to work, because someone with a business administration background would know how to manage this. I am a chartered accountant. I studied business strategy extensively for years. I know what the ins and outs of a business is, how to market, how to price, how to be competitive in the market alongside other brands that are constantly trying to take away sales from you. In terms of customer feedback, what to focus on, and how to really market towards the demographic of customers that you want to reach. Because as a brand owner, you cannot target the whole market. You need to really understand what your target demographic is and maybe just focus your efforts towards that. Whereas some of these indie brand owners also have other sources of income, maybe other jobs, or maybe they're also interested in other things such as hobbies, and they aren't able to devote the time needed to a business. And I think that is one of the primary reasons why some of these indie brands may not be able to grow beyond a certain point. One thing they could do, though, is to engage consulting services for business. In order to navigate the legal system related with running a business, certain indie brand owners do hire lawyers or maybe have outsourced this to other professionals, but I rarely ever heard of someone engaging consulting services, for example, of MBAs. There's a reason consultants are compensated the way they are, because they do bring a lot of valuable knowledge and insight to the table that maybe a small business owner does not have. Also, being able to afford these services is a question mark. Such services can be expensive, and the small business needs to prioritize what they need to spend on in the short term, which many of these indie brand owners are focusing on the short-term profits, not the long-term, whereas this kind of consulting would be more of a long-term measure. My next point would be that since this knowledge is not possessed by quite a few of small business owners, some key functions of the business are not being given the due importance that they should. For example, customer service. I would say with Unearthly Cosmetics in particular and other small brands in general, they don't really have a customer-centric focus. The one-on-one customer service provided by the small brand after the sale has been made is something that is lacking. And I'd say that's the same for Unearthly Cosmetics. If something goes wrong with your package or something, they don't have much of a system in place to address that. And I see comments on their Instagram and maybe even in their lives that someone is having a customer service issue and no one is helping them, which is a pity because you are losing a chance to really hook this customer, because once you give them good customer service, they will develop a sense of brand loyalty that will be unmatched. But it's important to be aware of these things. Most of these small brands that we hear of, they outsource their sales function to influencers who are compensated to push product to the people, and it is a good way to do that. But I also see some brands trying to really engage with the influencers and spend maybe more than what they should be spending. Just my opinion. But if I were a small brand owner, I would be prioritizing my customer service over networking with influencers, for example. Another thing, not knowing how to market your product. I see this with small brands. They don't necessarily know how to present their product to the right audience. Maybe the swatches are not well done. Maybe the website has a really weak structure. It's not user-friendly. And the easiest thing is to ask the customers for feedback. In today's era of social media, it's not that hard, but you rarely see brands asking for feedback. I've mostly seen larger companies who can afford that business expertise asking customers for feedback and then actually acting on it, but I haven't seen that as much from small brand owners. Another thing that I have seen from many indie brands is that when something happens during the course of business, they take it really personally. One must conduct oneself differently as a brand owner versus an online personality or an influencer. As part of conducting yourself as a business, what you need to do is not be sassy, but friendly. So there are businesses that have tried being very sassy with their slogans and their products and their names, and it's just not generally well received. I remember seeing a campaign for a certain large, very mainstream brand being sassy and using some pretty strange names, which could be double meaning as well. Double meaning as in an offensive sense, and it was not well received. So, as a business owner, if you're representing your business, don't be sassy. Don't write tons of rules and regulations on your websites. Or if customers give you feedback, don't take it personally. Try to make changes. Try to be customer focused. There's a certain indie brand that I'm thinking of. They have these long lists of rules and regulations, things that they will or won't do, and it's just not good. It's not friendly at all. If someone bothers to read through them, they will know that this brand is essentially saying that we are not responsible in any scenario. We do not hold ourselves accountable to our customers, and we just don't care. So don't do that. That is a no-no. If a customer is spending their hard-earned money on your product, you can't say to them, not my problem. There is a saying that it's just business, which means that people who possess that business background or are really well versed with these theories of running a business, they don't take things personally, because at the end of the day, it's just business. The customer who's buying from you is doing a business transaction, and you as a business owner are making that transaction. It doesn't say anything bad about you if someone is returning your products, or if someone is making negative remarks about the products or the theming that you put together. You are not an artist in this scenario, you are a business owner, which is a completely different thing. But this distinction is not understood by small brand owners. That's why if there's one person managing the brand and the customer service, they will be very defensive. If something is not good quality, or if something breaks during transit, or if, for example, those hand-pressed shades, their formula tends to go bad, if a customer has any complaint, these kind of owners will react defensively, because what they're seeing is an outflow of cash from their pocket to return to the customer, which they don't want to do at any cost. But what they're losing is a customer that would have benefited them for the long term. So again, prioritizing that short-term gain over the long-term benefit of providing good customer service. Also, the idea of value addition to the customer is not known. So instead of trying to be competitive in the market, setting your prices according to what's going on, the strategy is to just produce something and then put it out there and hope that someone will buy it, which is not how it works. You need to know what else is going on in the market, price your products accordingly. It is a very competitive landscape out there, so you can't just operate in isolation. You need to look at all the other brands, what they're doing, how they're pricing their products versus how you're doing. What value are you bringing to the customer above everyone else? So there is a lot that goes on in these things, and sometimes small brand owners don't know what to do with that, which is understandable because they are creatives. They are more interested in the product development side of things and not the business side, which is why it will be difficult for them to grow beyond a certain point. Another thing is raising capital and reinvestment into the business. So what these small businesses do, they withdraw profit as soon as it is received. You will see very little to no reinvestment in the business. That's why there's still pre-orders. Pre-orders are essentially having the customer to pay first and then taking that payment and having the product manufactured. So this means that you're still taking money from the customers. You don't have enough of capital to invest in your business. How reinvestment works is that you take the profits and you reinvest them into either inventory, or maybe doing your marketing better, or maybe reaching other markets through retailers, or a number of different strategies. But what you're doing is you're withdrawing the profit and using it as your personal income, which is understandable. But if you're unable to reinvest, that is another reason why a certain brand will not be able to grow beyond what they are now. Businesses are hard and tricky to run, and there are a lot of reasons why a business might fail or not perform all that well. But some brands, for example, Unearthly Cosmetics, they have a very loyal customer base. And that can be one of the biggest strengths of a brand, customer loyalty. That comes before any influencers, before any sales tactics, or anything else. That is a huge opportunity that is missed by many small brand owners because they are unable to recognize it for what it is, which is a huge selling opportunity. You can leverage customer loyalty and convert it into sales. It's just that simple, but you have to show some appreciation. That's where reward programs come into play. You hardly see that with any of these indie brands, whereas people are making repeated purchases just because the product is good, but the potential for exponential growth is there. And it's kind of being missed by certain small business owners because maybe they're unable to recognize that. I guess those are all the points I had for now. I'm kind of sick of talking, but I will be back with similar videos because this is what I do. I am a beauty and makeup enthusiast. I am a makeup artist, but before all that, I am a chartered accountant and I'm a finance and business professional who has studied essentially most of their adult life, business strategy and finance and all that in detail. So when I discuss these things, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And I really want to see some of these smaller brands do well because they do products so good. And if they achieve some growth, we can see their inventories stocked better or their pricing to be more competitive and maybe pass on some of those savings to their customers that they make as a result of good business decisions. And I would love to see that for all customers. Because the customer of today's landscape of beauty has whiplash from too many makeup releases, has FOMO because they're missing out on everything because they can't afford everything, and are angry at very high prices which are unable to be justified at this point. And also sometimes they're unable to find products that really fit their needs. For example, the lack of diversity. I'm talking not just deeper skin people, but people like myself. And this is another whole conversation that we need to have. And if you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe and have those notifications on. A lot more interesting stuff will be coming soon, and I will see you next time.